Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I finally have it. At long last, I have an Ultra League Shadow Gliscor. Unfortunately, Shadow Gligar was out of the rocket rotation for a long time, but with the most recent rocket event, it's back. I found one, invested a ton of Stardust to power it up, and it has been amazing. I paired it up with a Poliwrath and a Skeledirge, climbed multiple hundreds of points, all the way up to 3320 ELO, which is number 117 in the world. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. Hopping to the first match, picking up a tough lead Poliwrath into Defense Deoxys. I'm going to be farming up in this matchup all the way up to 8 counters, and then switch into the Gliscor as my opponent makes it to the Thunderbolt. This way, I save my energy for later, and I waste theirs, as it is going to be resisted. In comes a Guzzlord, farming up energy. I'm firing off a charge attack with the Gliscor. Earthquake does not knock out, but it does quite a lot of damage here. The Earthquake connects. Opponent fires off a charge attack. They have to go for the harder hitting Crunch or Brutal Swing here, because if they go for the Dragon Claw, which they do, Gliscor is able to hang on, make it to a Night Slash, and force switch advantage or shield advantage. They let it go, and just like that, Guzzlord gets KO'd by the Gliscor. Gliscor flips switch, and that's the entire game, as they have a Greedent in the back. This would have been a completely hard counter game, but the opponent underestimates the Shadow Gliscor, and now suddenly I'm in the driver's seat of this match. The opponent is going to queue a switch into Deoxys, but I can comfortably send in the Skeledirge. We've seen that they're running Thunderbolt, so they're not going to be running Rock Slide, as the move that Deoxys always runs is Psycho Boost no matter what. They go for the Thunderbolt, and that just does nothing. Skeledirge completely in the driver's seat of this match, going for the Shadow Ball. The Shadow Ball will be shielded by my opponent. They're firing off another charge attack, but again, I do not have to shield it. Psycho Boost, not going to be an issue. Skeledirge making it to another Shadow Ball. Opponent has to shield or they're getting knocked out here. They let it go. Unfortunately, that is going to be game over for the Poliwrath. I'm able to make the Disarming Voice. Looks like that was actually charge attack priority here. Disarming Voice to the charge attack from the Greedent. And then I can very comfortably just send in the Poliwrath and win that match. They go for an undercharge, but I'm not going to give them the farm. I switch into the Greedent. Sorry, I switch the Poliwrath into the Greedent, and the opponent resigns the match. Speaking of Poliwrath, in the next match, we have a Mirror. I'm farming up energy here, going for the Skull, but I do lose charge attack priority. This is a bit unfortunate. My opponent is going to go for the Scald, and they get the debuff. And that's the advantage of winning charge attack priority in a mirror match of Scald users. They get the debuff, I do not. I'm not going to throw my move now. I'm just going to bank this energy and instead look to save switch into the Gliscor. Gliscor should be able to get some nice farm. I'm going to look to throw the Night Slash before they make it to a move, but unfortunately I miscounted there. I thought they were on their 7th cycle, but it looks like they were actually on the 6th. So unfortunately, I'm now debuffed. In comes Skeledirge. I throw 2 in the move. I'm actually 1 short of the Earthquake, but the opponent doesn't trust the counts. And honestly, I get really lucky with that fact. Skeledirge is going to be firing off their energy. They go for the Disarming Voice, and that means that they're now going to be only 2 Incinerates away from their next move. Night Slash bait is no shielded. I'm at the back-to-back Night Slashes here. This is a bit unfortunate that they did call the bait. Opponent is going to shield. I'm going to switch into the Poliwrath, trying to go for a potential snipe. They throw the Disarming Voice, but that's okay. I can just send back in the Gliscor, farm up to 2 more Night Slashes, and I have a lot of energy on the Gliscor. The fact that they sent in a Skeledirge means they're pretty weak to Gliscor in the back, and there it is. It's the Registeel. I'm going straight for the Earthquake. This is going to do so much damage. This is a Shadow Earthquake onto the Registeel. Registeel looking like they're going to have to try and go for a farm down, but I can just not let that happen. I can go for the Night Slash. My switch clock should be up, send in the Skeledirge, and there's just no winning the game for the opponent at this point. They go for the Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon does get the debuff. They switch into the Poliwrath, and they resign the match. Picking up a tough lead in the next match, Poliwrath versus Shadow Dragonite. Shadow Dragonite, definitely one of the tougher matchups for this team to deal with. The other one definitely being Jellicent, as at the very least my back 2 Pokemon can hit Jellicent for super effective damage, but it's still either one of these Pokemon, and unfortunately I'm going to be in for a pretty long battle. I decide to shield because, of course, I can make their attacks do less damage with an Icy Wind. I'm farming up energy here with the Poliwrath. Wait a turn, go for the catch onto the Skeledirge. Is it the superpower? No, it is not. A Dragon Claw actually doesn't KO there. Unfortunately, they have the other Pokemon that is so difficult for this team to beat. They have the Jellicent. I'm full sending the Shadow Ball. They shield. and this is going to be an extremely difficult game to win. Jellicent fires off the Surf. That will pick up the knockout. I'm going to send in the Gliscor. Gliscor will be able to survive a Surf, but not very well. This Surf is going to do a lot of damage. The Surf connects. That does a lot of damage to the Gliscor. I'm going to be firing off energy here. Night Slash is going to do some very respectable damage. Continuing to farm with the Gliscor. That's another charge attack reached by the Jellicent. I'm forced to shield. I need the Gliscor to try and sweep in the endgame. Opponent sends in Registeel, and suddenly this looks winnable. I'm firing off the Earthquake. Earthquake will do quite a lot of damage. I'm sending in the Poliwrath, and I'm going to go for a slight undercharge here on the Scald, as I want to put this into a range where I can wing attack down, but as soon as I did it, I realized that's too much of an undercharge, and I'm not going to be able to get the wing attack down that I need to win this game. I'm farming with the Gliscor, and I can't get the farm down. I'm forced to fire off my energy here, and by doing that, I'm just going to lose. I don't have enough HP. They still have the Jellicent. They still have the Dragonite. In comes the Jellicent with slightly more precise play. Maybe I could have had a chance to win the game, but unfortunately, I don't execute, and that's a loss. We see a familiar lead in the next match, Poliwrath versus another defense Deoxys. Same game plan as before. I'm just going to farm up to the Scald and switch into the Gliscor looking for the catch, and I go 2 for 2 on catches. That's quite nice, as it is the Thunderbolt. But bad news strikes. In comes Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz is a complete wall to energy from Gliscor. I fire off the Night Slash here. Night Slash not going to be doing much of anything. Somehow that was a CMP tie. That should not be a CMP tie. I threw 7 wing attacks, which is 14 turns, and they threw 5 snarls, which is 15 turns. So that shouldn't have been CMP, but I guess I lagged and somehow it was. I'm going to fire off Night Slash after Night Slash, but it's not doing much of anything. Opponent is going to be firing off their energy, although losing this Night Slash isn't too impactful. I'm going to send in the Poliwrath. They're firing off energy right away. I could have potentially gone for charge attack priority, but instead I would just rather go for good timing. This Icy Wind will not KO, but it will do some pretty nice damage. The Icy Wind is going to connect. Opponent is going to give up switch and send in a Shadow Galvantula. Okay, pretty interesting pick. I'm going to bait with the Icy Wind, grab the shield, send in the Skeledirge. Somehow I sneak, so I guess I lagged by 1 turn before, and now my opponent is lagging by 1 turn. At this point, I still can't get the farm down, even with the sneak. My opponent is going to make a move. Even if it is the discharge, it's debuffed, so I can't survive it, and it is going to be the discharge. If they send in the Mandibuzz, I have a lot of energy on this Skeledirge, but they're not going to. They're going to send in the Deoxys. This is debuffed, so they are going to be able to tank that. They're now going to send in the Mandibuzz, and I can fire off the Disarming Voice. Switch clock will be up soon. I would love to be able to reset the debuff, so I'm just going to send in the Poliwrath. And Poliwrath is just basically going to be a sacrifice here as they fire off the Aerial Ace to reset the debuff for my Skeledirge. And Skeledirge is going to get the full farm down and the 2 shield flex as well, as this Shadow Ball will comfortably pick up the knockout onto Defense Deoxys. The tough leads continue in the next match, leading Poliwrath now into a Clefable. Cannot catch a break with the leads today. Save switch into the Shadow Gliscor. Opponent is going to respond with Swampert, and this is actually a really okay matchup for the Gliscor. 1 Hydro Cannon does not KO. They can never farm down because their fast move is double resisted. I'm going to massively overfarm here and bait with the Night Slash. The Night Slash bait, it's fooling no one. My opponent is not going to shield. That's very unfortunate for me, but it's in a range now where I can just keep Night Slashing. I can very comfortably get a 2-shot here with Night Slash, and I just have so much energy on the Gliscor. My opponent still not shielding, so you know what? Let's try and make the play for swap. My opponent now is going to commit the shield. I'm going to be shielding up, and let's see, can I get the farm down? It is going to be close. Opponent not going to let that happen. They give up switch advantage, send in Clefable, but Clefable is not going to appreciate the absolute wall to its energy that is Skeledirge. The Moonblast connects. For being resisted, that still does respectable damage. Moonblast, pretty nice move overall. They're now going to fire off the Meteor Mash. I'm looking to farm up to 100 energy and go for the Shadow Ball. Clefable's so spammy that I don't dare go for an undercharge. I just want the Clefable gone as fast as possible. In the back, it's Poliwrath, and this basically just should be winning for me. I can fire off this Disarming Voice. That's going to get the shield from the opponent. Switch clock will be up soon. They send in the Swampert, throw an Incinerate, and catch the Hydro onto my Poliwrath. And this is just winning for me here. A little bit of lag, but honestly, it is not going to matter. I have energy stored on my Skeledirge. And in a Poliwrath Mirror endgame, this is just completely miserable for my opponent. They're able to get a debuff off the Scald. I don't want to risk that. It's their final Pokemon, so I'm just going for the Icy Wind. Apply that guaranteed attack drop. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Hopping into the next match, and the bad leads continue. Poliwrath into Shadow Ampharos. I'm going to throw one counter and then save switch into the Gliscor. This way I get a little bit of free energy on the Poliwrath, but the Volt Switch is actually deferred onto the Gliscor. My opponent is staying in here. Something that I noticed as someone who runs a lot of Shadow Ampharos is almost every team with Shadow Ampharos is core broken by Gliscor, so the opponent is forced to stay in. I build up past the Earthquake. I'm going to be baiting here, baiting with the Night Slash. They call the bait, and that's really unfortunate for me. A lot of baits being called here from the Gliscor, but now I've done enough damage where a Night Slash, oh, I was going to say knocks out, but it barely does not. The opponent with the 1 HP survive, and I go down 2 shields in order just to get rid of the Ampharos. Opponent sends in Poliwrath. I'm farming up, and I decide to go for a bait. I've baited so many times, they've kept no shielding, and I'm going to bait once more, and this time I actually am able to get a shield. I send in my own Poliwrath. My opponent is throwing energy, which works out great for me. They're able to get the debuff, but if they're staying in here, this is where I'd rather the Poliwrath throw the energy, as the energy isn't particularly useful. I go for the Scald. Opponent in the back, they have Virizion. Virizion can pick up the knockout with the Leaf Blade, but there's bad news awaiting that Virizion in the back, as in comes Skeledirge. These Incinerates hitting for massive damage. Opponent farming up past the potential Stone Edge. Do they actually have Stone Edge and Leaf Blade? No, they do not. Honestly, they scared me a little bit with that overfarm, but this should just be winning for me here. I have so much energy on the Skeledirge. Disarming Voice will pick up the knockout. They send in the Poliwrath. I lost count of their energy, so I just throw this right away. The Disarming Voice will be shielded. I continue to farm, send in the Gliscor. This almost was a lose con. They may have been able to counter me down. In hindsight, I should have just stayed in. So I almost found the lose con, but thankfully it is not a lose con after all, as they throw their energy and Disarming Voice is going to secure the win. We see our Nemesis return from the last set, Poliwrath into Shadow Dragonite. Shadow Dragonite, so far, the only lead that I did lose to, and I'm seeing it again. My opponent is going to play to charge attack priority here. As they fire off the Dragon Claw, I decide to commit the shield. I'm returning fire with the Icy Wind. They're, of course, going to be shielding up, and I'm going to go for the same catch that I went for last time. Farm up to one before, wait a turn, and get the catch onto the Skeledirge. Is it the superpower? It is the superpower, so that's a massive catch. Opponent sends in Jellicent. Last time, I ended up firing off a Shadow Ball and my opponent shielded. So this time, I'm going to play it a little bit differently. Instead, I'm going to go for a Disarming Voice bait, hoping my opponent is going to shield so then I can land that Shadow Ball, as Jellicent is really tough and the opponent calls the bait. Oh my goodness, this is very unfortunate. Versus this one particular team that I keep seeing, I just keep making every wrong shielding call. And Jellicent with this much energy is a problem. I'm able to get a catch onto the Poliwrath, which is quite nice, as I am able to catch the Surf, and that's not going to do a lot of damage. Opponent sends in the Registeel, and it is actually the same team as last time. Let's see, this is my moment for redemption. The Scald will connect. I do not get the debuff. I'm farming up. Perfect counting by my opponent, as they're going to be firing off this Focus Blast to pick up the knockout. I still have a shield left, but I want to save it for the Gliscor. I'm going to look to overfarm quite a lot with the Gliscor. Opponent firing off energy, but a Focus Blast is not particularly threatening. They end up going for the Zap Cannon. They don't get the debuff, so a little bit of good luck does go my way. I fire off the Earthquake. Earthquake is going to be able to pick up the knockout, and the opponent, odds are they're sending in the Jellicent. I'm firing off the Night Slash. Really hoping this Night Slash will be able to knock out. The Night Slash does not knock out. If I can get a farm down here, I can win. This will be close. I commit the shield on the Surf. Gliscor cannot get the farm down. The Jellicent on 1 HP. So close and yet so far. And I go to 0-2 against that team. Hopping to the final match, leading Poliwrath into Shadow Ampharos. I try and go for the one counter and switch, but the game ends up lagging and forcing me into an overtap, so I actually take the Volt Switch damage on the Poliwrath, which is not my intent. They go for the Brutal Swing. I'm farming up, and again, I'm going for the Night Slash bait here, hoping my opponent is going to commit the shield. Opponent does commit the shield, and Gliscor gets the boost. Okay, Gliscor, we are off to the races now. They're going for the Brutal Swing, but almost nothing wants to deal with a boosted Gliscor's energy, so they're staying in here with the Ampharos. I go for the Night Slash. They're going to commit the shield. I'm going to be shielding up here because I have a boosted Gliscor. That is going to be another brutal swing. They're going to send in Cresselia, and Cresselia is going to have a bad day going against this energy. I fire off the Night Slash. That does so much damage for a non-stab move. I overfarm, trying to go for charge attack priority, but my opponent is not going to fall for it. The Night Slash connects. That does so much damage. I get a second boost, and the opponent accidentally overfarms to a CMP tie that they do not win. Night Slash picks up the KO. In the back, it's Poliwrath. Look at the wing attacks. 5 quad boosted wing attacks, and it gets the Shadow Poliwrath basically to half HP. Shadow Gliscor going absolutely god mode in this final match. They send in the Inferos, and I'm just going to stay in here with the Poliwrath. I can go for the Scald, pick up the knockout. They can send back in their own Poliwrath. They realize there is not a win con, and they resign the match. All in all, this team and Shadow Gliscor as a whole was an absolute blast to run. Poliwrath and Skeledirge cover each other's weaknesses incredibly well, and Shadow Gliscor just feels like an X Factor. It has amazing coverage. A lot of teams are often double or even triple weak to it, and if you get a Night Slash boost, it can just take over games by itself. One note though, I do have a better way of playing the Poliwrath into Shadow Dragonite lead now, and that is just not shielding the Poliwrath. As long as you have a decent Poliwrath, you can tank the Dragon Claw, make an Icy Wind, grab a shield, and make a second Icy Wind unless they throw a second charge attack. And oftentimes, I've found that playing it like that and saving shields for the backline, you're typically going to end up winning. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our wonderful channel members. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.